Every time I watch Monday Night Raw, I learn something new. And you know what I learned on this episode of Monday Night Raw? I learned that Roman Reigns is covered in a certain something that I probably wish I didn't know that he was covered in. According to CM Punk, he is
oil and jizz.
Yeah. Hello everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. This is The Real Work, and I am Heel Harrison, back in time to kick out at 2 again. Another episode of Monday Night Raw, and we're going to talk about it today in today's video. But before we do that, make sure to like, share, subscribe before you hit me with your YouTube finishers. Support the channel, that way we can grow and come up with more ideas together. So let's get into it. And by the way, in today's video, I am wearing the brand new Jacy Jayne t-shirt. If you want to get, hopefully you get a good look at it right here. If you have a recommendation for any t-shirts that you would like me to wear in these videos for you guys, drop them down below. I'm still not really understanding if Roman is truly covered in oil and jizz. Program kicks off with Brock Lesnar and Oba Femi. Brock coming out in a brand new t-shirt, which by the way, I might get because I actually like the way it looks. It's actually, nice. So Paul Heyman coined it last week. F-A-F. A take on F-A-F-O. Go around and find out. Brock Lesnar has a t-shirt, and to me it looks like FAFs. FAFs. Yeah, very intimidating. Anyway, it says F around and get F5. Well, Oba Femi really wants to F around. But does he get F5'd? No, because he counters Brock Lesnar's F5, and Oba Femi throws him and dumps him over the top rope to Brock Lesnar's surprise. Were we surprised? No. Because we know that we know Oba Femi can beat up Brock Lesnar, right? Right? Obviously, it is confirmed that this is the direction they're going to take for WrestleMania. Of course, there was a rumor not too long ago back where maybe backstage, Heyman and Lesnar, I believe this has been debunked, but Heyman and Lesnar, there was a pitch, I think believed by Heyman, that Brock should not lose any match up until his retirement match. God knows when that will be. And I don't think it's going to be at WrestleMania. I don't think Brock is retiring at Mania. So if that's the case, it begs the question, is Oba gonna go over at WrestleMania? And for sure, we're in agreement. Oba should go over, right? Either way, Oba Femi looked great here. He just dumped Brock over the top rope. Last week, though, he got to actually hit Brock with the fall from grace. And do you think that Brock Lesnar will do the job for Oba Femi? I am confident that yes, he will do the job for Oba Femi. Of course, we'll see when we get there. But I do think that there's something special about Oba Femi that Brock Lesnar sees. Even in the last 2 weeks, there's been like almost a special, maybe I'm just saying that, maybe I'm wrong. There's a special twinkle in Brock's eye, and he's like, this is the guy. And I think that Brock Lesnar will do the job and be a professional here. I think he will put over Oba Femi. Why didn't he put over Omos? At least he's not covered in oil. Get your mind out of the gutter. That's not what this channel is about. Please subscribe. Cut to the Vision and the Usos in a non-title match, which I thought was going to be for the titles. Maybe that's next week, but correct me if I'm wrong. We get to this match, and it's a nice, decent back-and-forth match. Not too bad. We finally get an interference, seemingly from the Brass Knuckles by Logan Paul, but we get LA Knight. Yeah. Sorry, one second. Yeah. That's better. And we get LA Knight interrupting, stopping Logan Paul from using the Brass Knuckles, and he slides him into Jey Uso of all people, and right in front of the ref puts him on. I thought maybe, that there would be a distraction. No. And then Jey Uso just cold cocks. Absolutely lays out Austin Theory for the DQ. Of course, retaining the tag team championships, I guess. It was a non-title match. I don't know anymore. But yes, we do get that. And then, did anybody notice LA Knight's elbow? I didn't. That looks pretty bad. And then Jey Uso knocks out Logan Paul. Make sure he gets one in on Logan Paul. Looks like it was with the Brass Knucks. Jey Uso just like a kid on a schoolyard, just wants to fight. That's what he reminds me of. You really want to know the truth? It's either he's using and running it back, or can't control his emotions. I don't know, whatever warpath that he's on, but anyway, next we have Becky Lynch coming out to address the audience, and it's not just me saying that she's coming out to address the audience. It's Bleacher Report, it's Sports Illustrated, whatever other newspaper article you can think of, major wrestling news outlet you can think of, they're saying that she's coming out to address the audience as well as I am. And she talks about how she took some time off and the hiatus. She had to go home to the people who she appreciates and that she loves. But the line that really stuck out to me here, and I actually like this line. Now, between you and me, I'm not the biggest fan of the Divas era. I know people maybe look at it with, some rose-tinted glasses, and that's fine. There were some decent moments in that era, and sure, the women who were in that era fought for that era. But boy, Becky Lynch just comes around. She's like, I just took it, and right where the rings were, I just split it right down the middle, ripped it apart, and broke it over my knee. Okay, maybe not that graphic, but you get what I'm saying. She killed the Divas division. She put a stake right in its heart. And then out comes AJ Lee. AJ Lee comes running down the ramp, and I'm like, okay, we're going to get some physicality here. Another brawl. No. Becky Lynch backs off into the Raw audience, and AJ Lee hops onto the announcer's commentary table, and we get a promo from AJ Lee. Now, I personally thought that this was their best segment to date. It didn't go too long. It wasn't too short, and there were some great lines in here that I think helped progress the story and set up their match confirmed for WrestleMania 42, AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And how, earlier in the program, Becky Lynch was talking about when she was home, her daughter was skipping around the house, prancing just like AJ Lee, lighted up, all that good stuff. AJ's like, you know what? I'm your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. And I go, okay, I've heard this before. But she drops the line. She says, well, I was the best of my generation. I was the best of your generation. And I'm the best of the next generation. And I'm your daughter's favorite wrestler, apparently, too. Becky ends this segment with a pretty good line herself. I'll remember when you walked out the day after WrestleMania 10, 11 years ago. The next day after WrestleMania, you walked up to the office to hand in your resignation paper. I will save you the trouble at WrestleMania. Don't you worry. We see the Usos and LA Knight walking in the hallway near a certain somebody in the background. Looks like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the final boss, confirmed for WrestleMania 42 right there. Confirmed. And of course, LA hits Jey Uso with the "you're starting to act like Roman Reigns" line, or "you're starting to sound like Roman Reigns." And then Jimmy comes in for the kill and says, you need to be careful about what you say about our family. Look at CM Punk right now. My brother's on a warpath.
You need to calm down.
Okay, maybe he didn't tell him to calm down, but you get the picture. We get Javon Evans and Grayson Waller, and will Javon Evans... will he replace Grayson Waller? I don't know. Why does Kofi Kingston have his eye set on Javon Evans? It's hard to keep your eye set on Javon Evans because he's flying everywhere, and you can't keep up with what the guy's doing because every time you look at him, he's just... Yeah, I remember that. I hear them shouting. Didn't Kofi used to be Jamaican?
Aren't you supposed to be Jamaican? What happened to your accent?
It was all a fever dream. But of course, Javon Evans gets the W, and we cut to Paul Heyman and Adam Pearce. I love the chemistry. But with Adam Pearce and Paul Heyman, they're just the hotheads coming at each other like, hopefully they're not covered in oil. Get your mind out of the gutter. That's not what this channel is about. But please subscribe anyway. I need a drink. Adam Pearce reminds Paul Heyman that, hey, you requested some promo time, so get out there and address Seth Rollins. So he does. Paul Heyman, being the stand-up guy that he is, the GOAT that he is, our GOAT. Paul Heyman, the greatest of all time, goes out there to address Seth Rollins, and the very brash guy that Paul Heyman is, and he calls out Seth Rollins, hits us with the very classic line, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. Because he's the true, real man. That's not toxic at all, right?
The following contest.
So anyway, Seth Rollins comes through the crowd. He jumps up on the table, and, at first I go, oh, it's Austin Theory, and, But I was like, okay, it's Seth Rollins. He takes off the mask. He takes off, 10,000 layers, and then reveals it's Seth Rollins. It's him, and, the crowd pops like it's the very first time that we're finding out that it's Seth Rollins again. And anyway, and unfortunately, I will be remiss if I said that I got tired of the masked man figures a long time ago. I'm tired of it. I don't want to see it again. I get this is a very simplistic, Rollins is like the vigilante at this point. Okay, you want to play masked man? Okay, I'm going to really play into the masked man. I got tired of it a long time ago. Seth Rollins' luck runs out because Paul Heyman, well, I, Paul Heyman, people in my family, we snitch. And you, sir, you have violated your restraining order. That's a felony. And as the police are walking Seth Rollins through the crowd and says, I'm not going to, okay, haha, Paul Heyman just running his mouth about Becky Lynch, about their daughter, and Seth breaks free and makes a break for it and beats down Paul Heyman. He beats him down. The police finally break him off of Paul Heyman, and he is arrested and escorted out of the building to a commercial break. Quick note, just a little bit about me, a fun fact. Everybody in wrestling has their guilty pleasures thing because, this is like it's a sports entertainment thing. It's all scripted. It's all fake, right? We can suspend our belief for a little bit of time. Well, one of the things that I can definitely suspend my belief for is a good old arrest angle. For some reason, I don't know why. A couple ones they haven't really hit for me, but most of the time I'm a sucker for a good arrest angle, and Seth Rollins got arrested. So I don't know when we'll see him again, but hopefully soon. Now, after that fiasco and Seth Rollins gets arrested, we have Lyra Valkyria, everybody's favorite bird lady, and of course mine too. I wonder where the Becky stompers are. I kind of like those. Everybody's favorite Nickelback enthusiast. That's so random. That's so random. Anyway, we have Lyra and Bayley against the Kabuki Warriors and Asuka and Kairi Sane, and Lyra Valkyria got the hell just knocked out of her, and then the running away of Kairi Sane. Kairi Sane is so unserious. I love Kairi Sane so much. Does anybody else enjoy Kairi Sane as much as I do? The running, the little runaway, that was hilarious. Kairi Sane is just too good. She is not a heel. I am convinced of it. It looks like we're going to get maybe a fatal four-way: Charlexa, the Irresistible Forces, Bayley and Lyra, and the Bellas at WrestleMania for the Women's Tag Team Championships. And I don't know who's going to win this match. I really don't. I have no idea. I would like it to be Bayley and Lyra because I think they're a very formidable tag team. At the same time, I think that Nat Lash Legend and Nia Jax are doing a great job. I'm not too keen about the Bellas winning, and we've already seen Charlexa have a great title run, so we don't need to see that again. And in arguably the most entertaining moment of the evening for some, especially maybe the kids, we get IShowSpeed Adam for some reason on this random episode of Raw, and he meets Danhausen, who eventually, say it with me, curses. IShowSpeed, and IShowSpeed just is like, what? Cursed? What? We get Io Sky consoling Kairi Sane backstage, and I can already see it. We're going to have Io Sky versus Asuka for the custody of Kairi Sane at WrestleMania. Coming up next, we have Penta and Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. And on the way to the ring, Dominic is, of course, accompanied by Liv Morgan, who is immediately attacked by Stephanie Velveeta Velcro Vaquer. I'm probably going to botch it. Just bear with me here. But we get, and definitely the most chaotic brawl of the night. And in such a short time, I'm almost certain that Rhea and Jade have gotten a lot more TV time to build to their women's title match as opposed to Stephanie and Liv. But correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. Am I the only one that sees it like that? But no matter what, this time that they used got me very excited because Liv Morgan took a pretty nasty spill right on the concrete. And as they're going into gorilla position, I go, are they going to take this fight into gorilla? Wow, okay, great. Like that sounds like they're taking this seriously. They want this to be seen. This is getting out of control. I like the transition. I thought they were going to cut it off and Dominic was just going to be left looking like, no, they continued it. There was a roll, kind of a goofy rollover onto the chairs. The chairs seem to be just fine. We come back from a commercial break with Dominic versus Penta for the IC Championship, and it's a good back and forth match, but eventually Finn Balor interrupts, getting his comeuppance from last week or the other week when Dominic Mysterio absolutely beat the hell out of him, and along with the rest of the Judgment Day, and cost Dominic Mysterio the title. Now, of course, this is the direction we're going to go for WrestleMania. I don't really know what else they would be doing, but I'm pretty excited. I'm sure that later down the line or in the coming weeks that Finn Balor will give some insight, cut some promos, and tell us and give us some insight as to what he's going to do to Dominic Mysterio on the road to WrestleMania. I think this is very good. I mean, these guys have been working together. Sure, people have been really, really worried about Finn and just how they've pinned Balor, and that's where that moniker came from, because he was just a background character to Dominic and Liv for the last, year or so? And so finally Finn is breaking out, and I'm very excited. A lot of people, the ship was sailed for them when it came to Finn Balor, but now he's broken away from it. Two original members of the Judgment Day. Well, Finn, no, I'm sorry. Finn was not, and neither, of course, was Don. They joined later on. They were not the original ones. But you get what I'm saying. They almost feel original. That's how long this has been going on. But I'm excited for this. I think this is the perfect direction to go for WrestleMania. And now moving on to our final segment of the evening, we have CM Punk walking through gorilla position, and he is stopped by Jimmy Uso, and he gives him a fair warning, a foreshadowing, if you will. Oh, hey, man, my brother's on a warpath. You need to watch out. Be careful how you talk to Roman. Be careful what you're going to say out there. And Punk just, yeah. Okay. Yep, I get everything you're saying. Don't you worry, pal. We get the promo from CM Punk, and it doesn't necessarily seem like he's too hurt that it's not what Roman said. Here's a little more clarity for us. The whole last week I was thinking, what? That was the line? The old line, and it's not what Roman says. It's is not going to stand for his disrespect from a young boy like Roman Reigns. He compares himself to Nolan Ryan. He compares himself to Terry Funk, middle-aged but crazy, justified, if you will. It's kind of like he's saying, I'm proud of being old. If I wasn't old, the gray is showing. I don't covered up with Just for Men like Roman Reigns, who's also covered in oil. Get your mind out of the gutter. That's not what this channel is about. How many times do I have to say it? Please subscribe. Anyway, after a little more talking, here comes Jey Uso, and I love that CM Punk just kept kind of talking for about the first 5 seconds of Jey Uso's theme song, and it was, I loved it. I love how Punk mocked Jey Uso. I love it. Anyway, here comes Jey Uso, and he just, listen here, Uso, that. He does that for the time being, and then out comes Jimmy Uso, and then Jay. Well, I don't see where Roman Reigns at. Where's Roman Reigns? I'm here. And then out comes Roman Reigns. By the way, again, I realize this is Monday Night Raw. It's an adult TV program, if you will, but the jizz line I didn't see coming at all. Once Roman Reigns comes out there, he reminds him, well, don't you have a title match? Is it done with? Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to say this respectfully as possible. Get out of my ring. Jey Uso breaks loose from Jimmy Uso and goes right to Punk, and Punk decks him, which triggers Roman Reigns to hit the Superman punch. Looked like it was in the back of the head of Punk, and Punk goes down. And then here's a very interesting thing that maybe you might have not seen, but people are catching. I didn't catch this at first, but this makes a lot of sense. Here's a very interesting story beat. The one guy, after all the history between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, how Jey Uso is showing traits or attributes of Roman Reigns, and everybody backstage sees it. As they're leaving the ring, Roman's leaving the ring, Jey, get him, stick him, do it, and Roman takes an order from him. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just a little detail that, it doesn't mean much. But maybe it seems to be apparent that Roman Reigns has made a mistake at the close of the show. Of course, our ending segment is Roman Reigns putting CM Punk through the table. And I enjoy what they're doing for the road to WrestleMania. But here's the interesting thing. We pan to CM Punk, and I go, is he smiling? And he is smiling. And you can hear him say, I'm not the one who needs the help. And then I remember that shot. I remember I told you, but Roman, we could probably see it. The ending shot where the ending credits come up. Roman's walking up the ramp, and he's, what did I do? It might be the realization that now he is in Punk's head. That Punk is in his head the other way around. Sorry about that, because if you remember the last time they met, Punk decks Roman. Punk decks Roman because he had gotten in his head. Now it's the other way around. But again, is CM Punk correct? You tell me, you let me know. That I'm very interested to see what happens on the next episode of Monday Night Raw. But thank you for joining me for this episode of The Real Work. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I hope you were dry through this episode of Monday Night Raw, because I know I was. Let's hope you were too. No oil, nothing else, right? Anyway, like, share, comment, and subscribe. I will be back to kick out at 2 very soon.